So welcome. So this is part of our Bhakti Shastri course. And tonight we'll continue with our study of the Bhakti-rasmrta-sindhu, the Nectar of Devotion, Prabhupada's summary study of the text. And tonight we're going to enter into the first chapter of the Nectar of Devotion, which is very important to understand. This book it's actually this book here. It's called the Nectar of Devotion. It's the science of Bhakti-yoga, which is what we practice as Hare Krishnas. Bhakti, you may be familiar with this word Bhakti. Bhakti means devotion. Yoga means to connect or unite. So Bhakti-yoga is what we practice here, which means everything we do is connected to or for the pleasure of Krishna, Radha and Krishna. The Supreme Lord, God. We see God as a blue cowherd boy. So that's how we see God. He's playful and he's young and he's very cool. So everything we do in Bhakti Yoga means it's an act of devotion for the pleasure of Krishna and Radha, his eternal consort. So this book is the science of how to serve Krishna. So the last 2 weeks, when we've been studying this book, we covered the preface and the introduction, which are very important. And tonight we'll begin chapter 1. We'll cover chapter 1 tonight. Now, chapter 1 deals with the subject of Samanya Bhakti. Samanya Bhakti means it's a general overview of what Bhakti Yoga is. So it gives you an understanding of what you receive when you practice what we practice, how Bhakti Yoga affects your life. So it's a general understanding. Next week, we'll begin chapter 2, and chapter 2 deals with sadhana bhakti, the actual practices, what we do on a day-to-day basis, how we practice. But this is the overview. It's just so we get a foundation of what Bhakti Yoga is. So last week from the introduction, we covered that, first of all, we have to define what is the object of Bhakti Yoga. That is Krishna, that is God. We call God Krishna because when you call someone by their name, it's sweet. You know, if you say Madam, it's nice. But if you say the name, it's more sweet. So you can say God. God is the position, but Krishna is the name. So therefore, it's more sweet. It's more personal. So the Bhakti-rasmrta-sindhu, it deals with defining the objective of the book, which means it is Krishna. Ashirvad means blessings, that if you study this book, you will become purified. That's why we study these books, because it makes our heart pure. It means our material desires disappear. You know, as Hare Krishnas, we're not so materialistic. You know, we're not interested in material things so much. You know, we need material things. You know, I have a computer, but you know, I don't think, oh, which sort of computer will I get? Oh, you know, I need a MacBook. No, I need we don't think like that. We just get a computer, we use it to serve Krishna. So that is the blessing of practicing. And namaskar means offering of respect to those who have come before us so that we can present this knowledge. So that's what we've covered up until now. So tonight we'll cover chapter 1, and we will discuss the characteristics of Bhakti Yoga, how it affects your life. So it's quite interesting, actually. I think you'll be able to relate to quite a lot of it. Does anyone have any questions or comments, any points so far? Okay. So chapter 1, we discuss Samanya Bhakti, or the general characteristics of devotional service. This chapter begins with Lord Kapila stating that a pure devotee never aspires selfishly, even for the 5 kinds of liberation. So what are the 5 kinds of liberation? Salokya, Sarupya, Samipya, Shashti, and Sayuja, Mukti. The word Mukti means liberation. Have you heard of this word, Mukti? It's common in India. Everyone talks about Mukti. Mukti means liberation, to get out of this world, which is the goal of life. The goal of life is to get out of this world. If you want to stay in this world, you are foolish. The goal is to get out, because there's another world which is a lot better. This is second class, or fifth class, or 20th class. Depends on your experience so far. But this is not the real world. I mean, if we think this is it, this is the sum total of existence, then God help all of us. Because there must be more than this. This can't be all there is. So these teachings teach us there is another world to aspire to. So mukti means liberation. It means getting out of this world and going to the spiritual platform. Now, there's 5 types of liberation. The first one is called Sayuja, which is the one that we, as devotees of Krishna, we don't accept it. Sayuja means impersonal liberation. In philosophy, in yoga philosophy, in all Vedic philosophy or spiritual philosophy, there are only 2 schools of thought. God is a person, or God is energy and light. These are the 2 schools. So we're in the school that believes God is a person. That's him. He's up there in the picture. And the other school believes that everything is just energy or light. There's no person. When you become liberated, you go back to the spiritual platform and you merge into the light, into the energy, and you just exist. And it's very peaceful. It's nice. But for us, it's a bit boring. It's like, what are you going to do all day? It's like float. Like, how long can you do that for? You just float forever. Just like, it's like I'd get bored after 5 minutes. I want to talk to someone. I want to crack some jokes. I want to have some fun. So that is called rasa, which is the title of the book. Bhakti-rasmrta-sindhu. Rasa means pleasure. Where does pleasure come from? In our philosophy, it comes because we believe God is a person. It comes from relationships. So who is the best person to know and to have a relationship with? It's Krishna. It's God. Because he is the best. Give the coolest person you have ever met. Right? Krishna is more cool than that. He's just the best person to be with. So our philosophy is personal. So Sayuja Mukti means, you see the picture of Krishna? You see there's a halo? That's light or energy. So some people, their goal is to merge into that light or energy. Our goal is not that. So we don't accept Sayuja Mukti, which means impersonal liberation, to become one with the light. Does it make sense? Yeah, so for us, that's not the goal. But the next 4 liberations we accept: Swarupya, Samipya, Shashti, and Salokya. Salokya means to live on the same planet as Krishna. To go and live where he lives. Where does he live? He lives in a place called Vrindavan, which is, you can see in all the pictures, it's beautiful. There's rivers and forest and animals and birds, and everyone has picnics and they dance, they play flutes. So it's good fun. That's where he lives. So that is called Salokya. Salokya means we want to do that. We want to live where he lives. Sarupya means the form, to have a form like Krishna. So you see in the picture, there are other people. So we want to become one of those persons who enters into the pastime and has a form like Krishna that we can serve him with. So that's why he has so many friends. So we want to, that's the liberation we want. That is called Sarupya. Then there's Samipya. to have the opulence of Krishna. In other words, everything that he has, you also get to enjoy. Just like you're living here at Hare Krishna Valley at the moment. So you come to stay here. So you get to enjoy it all. You can do whatever you want. Go to the fridge whenever you want. Right? Heat up your pizza. Right? And then go out in the meditation garden and do some yoga. So you can do anything you want. Right? Well, you can't set fire to the buildings. No. Whatever you want to do, you can do. It's yours to enjoy. So whatever Krishna has, because this property belongs to Krishna, it belongs to God, whatever he has, you can also enjoy it. That's samipya. And then shashti. Shashti means to get the association, to be with him. You can actually go and live with him and see him every day. It should be nice. You know, if you really love someone, you want to see them every day. You know, when you're not with them, you think about them all the time. What are they doing? I miss them. So when you can be with Krishna every day. Imagine. You can hang out with him every day, and it's a festival every day. So this is the liberation that we accept as devotees. We accept these types of liberation. To have the same form, the same planet, the association, and the opulence that Krishna has. By pointing out a pure devotee's desirelessness, this quotation supports Srila Rupa Goswami's assertion that pure devotional service is free from the desire for sense gratification or liberation. So we discussed that last week in the introduction. To practice bhakti or devotion to Krishna, it must be free from material desires. So many people, they worship God to get something. Like people go to church. But they go to church, they pray for something. Oh, give me a Mercedes Benz. Let my daughter pass her exams. Let that girl marry me. You know, they pray for material things. So that's not what we call pure devotional service. That's not pure. You know, God's not interested. He says, yeah, have 5 Mercedes Benz. He doesn't care. It doesn't mean anything to him. You know, you say, oh, give me a Mercedes. Have 5. Who cares? You know, but that doesn't win his heart. If you want to win his heart, then you have to practice pure devotional service, free from material desires. So you get the liberations that we mentioned. Krishna will give all those things to you. But actually a devotee, someone who has bhakti, doesn't want them. He says, well, Krishna, if you want me to come and live with you, yeah, I'd be more than happy to do that. But I don't demand it. Does it make sense? You know that you have to become free of material desire. If you have material desire, you can't meet God because he's special and you have to be pure. You can't just go up to him and say, oh, nice to meet you. You know, remember that Mercedes Benz I was talking about 5 lifetimes ago? And he says, who let you in? How did you get in here? You have to be pure. You have to be free from material desire. So Prabhupada explains on page 3, in the above statement by Kapila Dev from Srimad Bhagavatam, the actual position of a pure devotee is described, and the primary characteristics of pure devotional service are also defined. Now, what's going to be described by Rupa Goswami are 6 characteristics of pure devotional service, which are Kleshagni, Shubhada, Moksha Lakutakrit, Sudulabha, Sandrananda Visheshatma, and Sri Krishna Kashini. These 6 items are the qualities of pure devotion to Krishna. So we'll go through them one by one. The first one is called Klesh Agni, which means service to Krishna provides freedom from material distress. So that's something you might feel, experience. That's what I experienced when I first became a monk. When I was 19, I became a Hare Krishna devotee, a monk. That was one of the first things I experienced. Freedom from misery. It was like anxiety just burned up. I'm still like that now. I don't feel, everyone has anxiety in life, but compared to what's going on out there, the anxiety is minimal. It burns up because you put everything in perspective in your life. Like my good friend Caleb, who's come to stay with us for a few days. He works in the music industry. In one word, are the people peaceful and free from anxiety? One word, no. And that's what everyone's looking for. I want to be a rock star. But he manages the rock stars. Right? They're not peaceful. Some of them are. Or actually, none of them are. He works with them. He says none of them are. People are not peaceful. But when you become a devotee of Krishna, you become peaceful. Your material desires, they disappear. And you become free from distress and anxiety. That's the first characteristic of practicing bhakti or bhakti-yoga to Krishna. You just become free of anxiety to a great degree. I mean, you can't avoid it entirely because this world is full of anxiety, but it's not so significant anymore. You don't feel it. It doesn't dominate your life so much. So, when we analyze this particular item, it says that distress, so the first question we could ask is, so where does distress come from? Right? And Rupa Goswami, the great author of this book, he says it comes from three places. The first one is papa. Papa means sin. Sin means actions which are contrary or against the will of Krishna, the will of God. That's sin. Something you shouldn't do it, but people do it anyway. That's sin. God doesn't want you to do it. Why are you doing it? Because you want to do it. So that causes anxiety. That's the first cause. We all know if you do something wrong, you get an anxiety. You know. Did you ever steal something? Never. Ever, ever. Never, ever, ever, ever. Never, ever. Okay, so besides you, did you ever steal something?
Without asking.
Yeah, we all did it, right? Except for, there's a few saints amongst us, but we also, but then you feel anxiety. Oh, they're going to find out. I remember when I was 8 years old, I stole some bubble gum from the milk bar. And, I was in so much anxiety. My God, and then in my mind, I just thought, what's the point of doing this? I was just an 8-year-old kid, but then I was thinking, every time I had a piece of bubble gum, I was thinking, someone watching, it's like, someone that catch me. It gives anxiety. So when you do the wrong thing, when you disobey the orders of Krishna, you will feel anxiety. Secondly, the second cause of distress is material desire, which in Sanskrit we call bija. Bija means seed. So we all, in our hearts from previous lifetimes, we have seeds of material desire. Right? All of us have. People didn't teach us. I mean, to a certain extent, people teach us, but it's already in there. We just want to do material things. We want to drink, we want to smoke, we want to have sex, we want to do all these things. It's in us, it's innate. The seeds are already in there, they just need to germinate. Right? So this is what causes anxiety, when you have material desires. So bhakti yoga, the practice that we follow, it gets rid of those material desires. And when you get rid of the material desires, then you're peaceful. Because then you don't have all of these material desires sitting within you. They don't bother you. Like we're discussing. Like I've been practicing this for about 35 years, so if someone brought me all the drugs you can think of in the world and put them in front of me right now, alcohol and drugs and everything, it doesn't attract me even at all. Because by practicing this process, all those desires just go away. It just doesn't mean anything anymore. Because you have something so much more fulfilling in your life, service to Krishna. And then the third cause of distress is avidya, or ignorance. And Rupa Goswami says, actually, this is the cause of all of our suffering, ignorance. What is our main ignorance, which causes our distress? We think we are the body. As long as you think you are this material body, you will suffer. Because the first thing which is taught by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita is you are not the body, you are the soul, the Atma. We are the soul. But the soul identifies with the body. As long as you identify with the body, you suffer. Does it make sense? It's ignorance. Ignorance of who we actually are. When you're ignorant of who you actually are, then you suffer. So Rupa Goswami teaches us the best way to overcome this suffering is by practicing devotional service. Oh, your suffering, your ignorance destroys, your material desires go away, and your sinful propensities, they disappear. And then you become satisfied. So Prabhupada on page 4, he analyzes. He says, sinful actions, papam, produce two reactions, prarabdha, manifest, and aparabdha, unmanifest. Prabhupada describes, for some of our sinful activities, we are awaiting distress in the future, and for others, which are mature, we are suffering at the present moment. So, prarabdha and aparabdha. Prarabdha means things that already happened in our life. Did anything bad happen to you in your life? Yeah, it all happened to all of us, right? There's no one in the world who hasn't had some negative thing happen. Why? Because that's called prarabdha karma. It means in your previous life, you did bad things. This life, you get it. You get the karma. And that's called prarabdha. Aparabdha means within us, there are reactions which haven't come out yet. So there's bad things which are coming. And you just have to wait around. They'll come. Don't have to wait too long. They will come. Who sang that song? You ain't seen nothing yet. Can't remember. You ain't seen nothing yet. You know that song? Baby, you ain't seen nothing yet. Yeah, so that's, you know that song? Oh, you don't know. Okay. It's a famous song. Famous song. In America, it's famous, like famous rock song. That's the material world. You ain't seen nothing yet. If you think you've suffered so far, just wait. There are things coming which will be more. And at the end, old age and death, they're pretty impressive. They're not particularly pleasant. I just had a good friend, 2 months ago, died of cancer. Not pleasant. Not pleasant. So, things will come. So when you practice devotional service, what happens is you burn up all those things, and in your next life, you go and live with Krishna, and then you don't have to experience birth, death, old age, and disease anymore. That's what we're aiming for. That's why we do all this Hare Krishna stuff, because we want to go and live with Krishna in our next life. So Prabhupada, who's the founder of our movement, he said, if Krishna is God, then in our next life we get to live with him and everything is perfect. If he's not God, we're still having a very good life anyway. It's a good way to live. Good way to live. And if Krishna is God, that's wonderful, because then we get to live with him and stay with him. So, prarabdha and aparabdha. manifest. Yeah, on page 5, Prabhupada says, as the blazing fire can burn any amount of fuel to ashes, so devotional service to the Lord in Krishna consciousness can burn up all the fuel of sinful activities. So when you practice devotional service, your material desires burn up. So therefore, you don't feel the need to do more material things, which create more karma. So when you do devotion, then you get out of the cycle of karma. You don't keep doing material things which cause more karma. Right? You stop doing that. Like if you look at us, we don't eat animals, we don't drink, we don't do all those things. Why? Because we know it just causes more karma. So we stop doing it, and then our life becomes more peaceful. And then the reactions that are within you, which are coming, they get minimized by practicing devotional service. The reactions get burnt up. I can attest for this in my own life, because I've been doing this for a number of years, following these teachings. I feel light. In other words, I know that the karma that was coming in this life has been burnt up. So you just get like, Prabhupada calls it a token, or just a small amount of what you would have got. Does it make sense? Yeah. So you still get karma, but it's not as bad as it could have been. And I feel that, like I feel like there's a lightness, there's like a heaviness which is lifted when you begin to practice. So when you have these, when you have that prarabdha karma within you because of your previous life, then it causes you or gives you the proclivity to do more material activities. Right? Sex life is a very powerful example. Sex life is the most powerful pleasure in this world. That's why you look at so many people, they are completely captivated by sex life. But the more you indulge in it, then the more you want it. That's the nature of sex life. So therefore, when you begin to control yourself and you dedicate yourself more to Krishna, and you're not engaged in those things, then the desire for it begins to reduce. And then you're not so controlled by it. It reduces within your consciousness. And then eventually, the desires, they begin to go away. So the point which is being made, if you indulge more in these material activities, you'll become more controlled by the material energy. But then if you abstain from these things and you get a superior pleasure by serving Krishna, then those desires go. Right? And then you just don't feel bothered by those things so much in due course of time. And then in turn, it doesn't create further desires. If you have a material desire and you act on it, it just increases it. And then you just continue your karma and you just go deeper into this world. And we see so many people, I've seen so many people. They can't give things up and they just get deeper into this world, deeper, and then they suffer so much. So it's unnecessary. Okay. Does anyone have any questions so far? Anything that we have discussed?
I was wondering about the liberation. So is it only the is it samukti? Samukti?
Sayuja Mukti.
Yes, Sayuja Mukti. Is that the only one we shouldn't aspire for, and the other ones are allowed? Because isn't it in the Shikshastikam that they say I'm not aspiring for any kind of liberation?
Yeah, it means that Sayuja we reject, but the other four we accept, but we don't necessarily aspire for them.
Okay.
In other words, we serve Krishna, but we're not doing, Krishna, I'll serve you as long as you give me these four things.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, so, you know, but if Krishna does give, which he will, we accept it.
Yeah, okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yoga practice in Shavasana because they say that's to prepare for like death and ultimate enlightenment. Is that just to prepare the physical body, and then Bhakti yoga is to prepare the soul for enlightenment?
Yeah, good way of saying it. Yeah, it's physical yoga, which is actually called asana. It's not called yoga, it's called asana. Asana is just one element of what we call yoga. So the physical, yeah, it's just to prepare your body, keep your body healthy so you can serve Krishna, that's all. People think, oh, it's the goal of life. Go to Bali, man. Live in the yoga barn. It's like, no. Oh, I can do all the asanas, man. It's like, yeah, it's not the goal. Yeah, you got a good body, good. Now serve Krishna. Do something practical. Oh man, I can do all the yoga asanas. It's like it's not the goal. Yeah, it's good. You're healthy. Now do something with your health. You know, they all do yoga and then at night they just have parties. That's not the goal. You know, Changu. There's more to life than that. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so Rupa Goswami explains, page 6, that Prabhupada elaborates by citing Ajamil's history. Despite his strict performance of Brahminical duties, sinful desires remained in Ajamil's heart and caused him to succumb to sinful life. Later, the simple devotional service of chanting Narayana uprooted all of his calamities, although he was in the midst of sinful activities. So the point is that these material desires are in us, but we have to perform devotional service and then gradually they become burnt up. It actually takes years. Prabhupada actually said it takes 50 years to become perfect in your chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. 50 years. Prabhupada said that. So it takes time. Don't think all this happens quickly or easily. You know, you can practice for years and decades, but the material desires are still there. They don't just disappear. But you have to feel that they're getting less and less and less. But it's a dedicated process. It takes time. As we explained in the Nectar of Instruction, you have to be patient. If you want enlightenment quickly, it doesn't happen like that. You know, sometimes people say, oh, you can get enlightenment in 6 months. No, you can't. It takes time. It's a serious process. On page 8, Prabhupada says, as long as one is ignorant about his identity, he is sure to act wrongly and thereby become entangled in material contamination. Then further down, Prabhupada says, pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness is the highest enlightenment. And when such enlightenment is there, it is just like a blazing forest fire, killing all the inauspicious snakes of desire. So the point is, the more we serve, then the more the material desires will go, and you will realize Krishna more, and you'll become more and more blissful. That's the basic process. So the second quality, which is discussed, is called Shubhada. Shubhada means when you practice bhakti yoga or devotional service, you develop all good qualities. Shubha means good. Shubhada means they're given to you. You develop good qualities. Generally, if you meet a Hare Krishna devotee and they're practicing sincerely and properly, they will have good qualities. You'll see, I've met many gurus and many people who are practicing this very nicely, and they have very good qualities. The best people I ever met. You know, they're saintly, you know, like Swami. So you just met him, you just spent a week with him. So he's a saint. He's a saint. Everyone says it because he's been practicing it for 50 years, sincerely, and your heart becomes purified. Or Kadambakanan Swami, or Indradumna Swami, or Jayapataka Swami. So many of these saintly persons, Gurujan Prabhu, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, so many of these saintly persons, they show us that if you practice, all good qualities will manifest within your personality. So, how do we know that someone has all of these good qualities? Or how do we know that something is all auspicious? Shubhada means you get good qualities. What's the definition of that? The first thing is that everyone will be benefited. Right? If you have good qualities, you'll benefit everyone around you. Secondly, you will be attractive to people. People will be attracted to you. They think, oh, the person has so many nice qualities. They'll be attracted. Thirdly, you will produce good qualities in others. Others will also rise up and they will develop good qualities just by your good qualities when you become purified. And you will give happiness. You will feel happiness within yourself and others. So this is what you receive when you practice bhakti yoga. You'll develop all good qualities and you'll have positive effect on people around you. They will also feel uplifted by your presence. On page 8 and then page 9, bottom of page 8, Prabhupada says, a person who is engaged in devotional service in full Krishna consciousness is to be understood to be doing the best service to the whole world and to be pleasing everyone in the world. In addition to human society, he is pleasing even the trees and the animals because they also become attracted by such a movement. So if you develop good qualities, you'll attract even the animals and the trees. But you'd have to be very pure. If the trees even are happy when you walk past. At least the animals, you can detect them more. The cows know what sort of a mood you're in. They can detect. So if you're in spiritual consciousness, they can detect that. They can feel, even they feel uplifted if you're in that consciousness. Prabhupada says on page 9, a Krishna conscious boy, even if he is not very well educated, can immediately give up all illicit sex life, gambling, meat eating, and intoxication, whereas those who are not in Krishna consciousness, although very highly educated, are often drunkards, meat eaters, sex mongers, and gamblers. So in the Hare Krishna movement, these are 4 things that we agree to do when we join. We don't have illicit sex, we don't take intoxication, we don't gamble, we don't eat meat. These are like 4 vows that we practice when we become a Hare Krishna devotee. Right? So we don't do those things. That's our dedication to Krishna. That's our commitment to Krishna. And how do we do that? Because, when I grew up, that's what we did. We had sex, we ate meat, we gambled, we drank things and smoked things and did everything. How do we give it all up? Because we dedicated our life to Krishna, to God. And then when you serve him through bhakti yoga, through devotion, you just lose the taste for those things. Those material things, they just evaporate. So that shows that this is actually a real spiritual process. Right? It must be real because we change. Right? If you don't actually see a change within yourself, the process is not real. If you're still doing, like all the yoga people, right? They all do all the spiritual stuff, and they all just go off and party and take drugs. So it's, how spiritual is it actually? How much did you actually change? You know, that's, you've got to see that. At least with the Hare Krishnas, you know, we're not duplicit. You know, we don't say one thing and then, you know, when everyone goes away, then we bring out all the, we have parties and we do all this, and we don't do all that stuff because we have a spiritual connection, something higher, a higher pleasure. On page 10, Prabhupada says, artificially, they may sit down for so-called meditation, but immediately after the yogic performance, they will engage themselves again in such activities as illicit sex, gambling, meat eating, and many other nonsensical things. But a Krishna consciousness person automatically gives up all this nonsense and develops a higher character, which is what we just said. Prabhupada just reiterates it. So there are three types of happiness Prabhupada defines on page 10. That which comes from sense gratification, that which comes from liberation, and that which comes from devotional service. So of the three, the pleasure from devotional service is the highest. And it gives you the greatest pleasure because it's the pleasure of the soul. You know, sense gratification, enjoying your senses in this world, that's not the soul, that's the body. Trying to liberate and become one with God, merge into the light, that's a selfish desire. But devotional service is free from selfish desires. Okay. Anyone have any questions or comments on anything? So, Prabhupada says, page 14, any person who has developed even a small amount of devotional service doesn't care a fig for any kind of happiness derived from religiousness, economic development, sense gratification, and the 5 kinds of liberation. So it's a very advanced state of consciousness that we're trying to attain. Now, so what were the first 2 qualities that we discussed? Kleshagni and Shubhada. What do they mean? Kleshagni means our material distress is burnt up when we practice Bhakti-yoga, devotional service. And Shubhada means you develop all good qualities. So you need to remember these 2. These will be on your exam. And now there's 4 more qualities, which you also need to memorize.
Do we need to know the Sanskrit?
What's that?
Do we need to know the Sanskrit?
It's good if you do.
Okay.
If you write to me later on, I can send you, if you haven't got the Sanskrit there, I can send them to you so you guys can learn it.
Okay.
But someone will have to remind me.
Thank you.
The next quality is called Moksha Lakhu Takrit. Moksha Lakhu Takrit means the desire for moksha or liberation. Lakhu means light or insignificant. It becomes insignificant. Even merging into the light, it just doesn't mean anything anymore because it means you will lose your opportunity to serve Krishna. So for us, that just means it's not interesting. So even moksha, which means liberation, for many people, many yogis, many people, many spiritual people, that is the goal, to become liberated, to merge back into the light, the energy, to get out of this world. But for us, even that's not attractive. If it means we can't serve Krishna, then we don't want to merge into the light. It's not an attractive. So moksha lagutakrit means to give up even that desire. Even that becomes insignificant. The next, that's the 3rd quality. And the 4th quality is called sudulabha. Sudulabha means it is rarely achieved or difficult to achieve. To become pure in service to Krishna is difficult to achieve. It's not easy. This is not a cheap process. Now, why is it difficult to achieve, or why is it rare? The first reason is because we cannot attain it by our own endeavor alone. You can't become pure just by your own endeavor. You need help. You need someone to help you. Someone who's powerful. So unless God himself, unless Krishna himself helps you, you won't become pure. You can try, but you won't fully make it. You can achieve a lot. You can become enlightened to a great degree, but finally you will need him to assist you or help you. You'll need him to purify all of the contamination. Yeah, and he can do that with his potency. So that's the first reason why it is rare to become completely enlightened or completely purified. The second reason is because Krishna is reluctant to give us himself. We see in relationships in this world, it's very difficult for people to fully give themselves to another person. Is that true? It's hard for someone to give, because are you going to be exploited or not? If I give myself fully to someone, are they going to exploit me? Everyone's fearful like that. That's why people hold back relationships. So Krishna, he's also like that in the sense that he doesn't want to allow us to become fully intimate with him until he can fully trust us. That's all. Which is, most of us are like that too. We're careful. We're careful in relationships. God's the same. He's careful. He just wants to know, are you really sure you're going to keep doing this? Are you going to keep serving me year after year after year? Are you going to keep doing this? And then sometimes, we have internal dialogues with Krishna, with God. Guru Jamparu, one of my gurus, was saying this at a retreat I was at in November in India. He said that whatever's going on in your heart, you have to take it to Krishna, take it to God, and speak to him. So sometimes I say that to Krishna. I say, I want to give myself fully to you. But then he says, are you sure? And I say, yeah, I'm sure. And he says, are you actually sure? I say, yeah, I'm actually sure. And he says, are you completely sure? Because he wants you to give everything. And if you're not willing to do that, then he will not give himself fully to you. So he's waiting to see. That's why it's rare. Sudulabha, it's rare to become pure. Because he's testing. Are you actually going to become? And then when you say to him, I'm willing to give everything up for you, you'll say everything. And you'll say yes. And he'll say, okay, what about this? And then he'll show you something else. And then you have to pass that test. Are you willing to give up this to him as well? There's so many things we have to give up. So it's rare that you will attain pure devotional service for these reasons. There's so much here. So I'm just trying to give you the essence. Otherwise, we could give class for hours and hours because there's so much to cover, but I'm just trying to give the essence. Okay, so they're the next two qualities. So the four qualities so far are Kleshagni. It burns up distress when you practice devotional service, Bhakti-yoga. Second quality is you develop all good qualities, Shubhada. Third quality is Moksha Laghu Takrit, which means liberation itself becomes insignificant. And Sudulabha means it's very rare to become a pure devotee. Now, the final two categories of devotional service are the highest level. They are called Sandrananda, Visheshatma, and Sri Krishna Kashani. So we'll discuss these two. Sandrananda, Visheshatma means when you fully give yourself to Krishna in love of Godhead, in prema, the highest level, the bliss is indescribably thick. Sandrananda Visheshatma means thick, impenetrable. Nothing else can exist in your heart and mind except Krishna, except love for God. That's the highest level, the highest quality. Just like, say, honey, as an example. If you have a jar of honey, it's thick. You can't really, if you pour water on it, it just kind of washes out. It doesn't mix with it. It's too thick. So that's how our love for Krishna has to become so thick, material things just can't enter, like with Prabhupada. Just nothing else could enter. There's so much love for Krishna that nothing else enters. So that's called Sandrananda Visheshatma, which means condensed bliss, right? Just full of bliss. This is what we're aspiring for. Prabhupada says, Rupa Goswami says that if Brahmananda, the happiness of becoming one with the Supreme, is multiplied a trillion-fold, it still cannot compare to an atomic fraction of the happiness derived from the ocean of devotional service. So nothing else compares. So they're the first 5 qualities. Kleshagni, Shubhada, Moksha-Lakudakrit, Sudolabha. Then we just read Sandrananda Visheshatma. The final quality of Bhakti-yoga, or pure devotional service, which is attained on the highest level of commitment, is called Sri Krishna Kashani. Sri Krishna Kashani means it attracts God himself. Actually, it means it controls God. You can control God. How do you control someone? By love. If you say to someone, you have to do this for me. People say, I don't have to do it. If I say, wash my plate, you say, I don't want to wash your plate. Because if you have to do it, you don't want to do that. But if you love someone, they say to you, can you do this for me? You'll do anything for that person. In other words, it is love that controls the soul. If someone loves you, you'll do anything for the person. Right? If you actually love someone, you'll do anything. If you love your child, you'll climb over mountains to get to the person. That's what love means as a definition. So when you love Krishna, you'll do anything for him. And when someone loves you that much, you control them. They'll do anything for you. So Krishna himself, you can control God when you fully love him. That's the system. So this is the final quality of devotional service. This is the highest quality. This is in Prema Bhakti. The first 2 qualities, Kleshagni and Shubhada, they are in Sadhana Bhakti, which will now be described between chapters 2 to 16. And then Bhava Bhakti, which is the next 2 qualities, which is Moksha-Lakudakrit and Sudolabha, that's in Bhava Bhakti. That's chapters 17 and going into 18. And chapters 18 and 19 describe Prema Bhakti, or the highest level of love of Godhead, which these last 2 qualities are contained within. Sandrananda Visheshatma and Sri Krishna Kashani. So Prabhupada says, the essence of Hladini Shakti is love of Godhead prema. Therefore, one who has prema can attract and control Krishna. Hladini Shakti means bliss. What is the essence of love? It is bliss. When you feel love, when someone loves you, you feel happy, euphoric. You see people in this world, right? You know, when someone really loves you, just feel so happy. But it's not comparable to what goes on with Krishna. When you love Krishna, the happiness is, it's another entire different thing. So it's just impenetrable bliss, the highest level. So that's what we're aiming for in our devotional service. That will control Krishna. Prabhupada says on page 16, no other process of self-realization has this potency, as confirmed by Lord Krishna's statement to Uddhava. On page 17, Prabhupada says, so that was the position of the Pandavas. Although Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, the greatest among all greats, he remained with those royal brothers, being attracted by their devotion, by their friendship, and by their love. This is the proof of how great this process of devotional service is. It can attract even the supreme personality of Godhead. Okay. So we'll stop there for tonight. Next week, we will begin chapter 2 of Nectar of Devotion, which describes sadhana bhakti, which will go from chapter 2 to chapter 16. Does anyone have any final questions or comments on anything that we have discussed? Okay. Thank you all for coming. We'll see you next week. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you.
Okay. See you next week. What do they call it? What do you call those things that you put up in the corner of the screen?
Uh-huh.
The emojis, or what are they called?
Emojis.
Emojis.
Yeah, they're funny.
Beautiful.
Someone had to bounce. Very funny. Good to see you, Nat.
Yes, beautiful class.
Oh, thank you. That's good. The rabbit's bouncing. So I'll put up a turtle. Oh, okay. See you next
Okay.
week. Enough turtles.
I will.
Rabbits.
I will.
Have a good sleep.
Yeah.
See you soon.
Ah.